Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shamaine and today I thought I would show you how I curl my hair. I'm not a professional hairdresser. I was never trained in hairstyling. To be honest, I don't even think I'm that good still. But I do have a couple of tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way in my journey. If you've been wanting to curl your hair but you don't really know how to, maybe this video might help you out in some way. I'll explain to you quite a bit before I start actually curling my hair, so hopefully you understand the whole thing better. This is my curling one. It's quite used and dirty and stuff. I should really give it a wipe down actually. I bought this in Japan. If you live in Singapore, I'm not sure if you can get this, but if you can, maybe you can try looking up on Amazon or something. Maybe you can find it. This is from the brand Afloat, as is written here, and I got this like 3-4 years ago, so I'm not 100% certain if they're still selling it, if they're still selling it, how much it is and stuff. But I do remember, sorry, hold on, there's like a tangle of wires here and it's driving me nuts. But anyways, okay, I think this was like this costed about maximum $100. In Japanese terms, it's gonna be 9,900 yen. I think I got it for around like 8,000, 9,000 yen. So what you should know about curling wands is that the barrels that these curling wands have different sizes. So this is a 38mm barrel, so it's one of the bigger ones. If you think about how you wrap your hair around and it creates a curl like so, this barrel is one of the bigger ones that would give your hair quite a larger curl. And then there are smaller ones that goes all the way from like 28mm, I think, all the way up, like in various different sizes, all the way up to this, and perhaps there are like even thicker ones, but basically this is like one of the more traditional one. And this one that I have has a clasp. There are some that doesn't have that clasp and you're required to hold your hair around the tongue. You can always do this with this one too. So in a sense, it's sort of useful to have a clasp option, but one that you can still wrap your hair around. Depending on the size of your barrel, the types of curl that you can create is very different. So for me, I am restricted to really big, I would say glamorous curls. Whereas if you use something like a thinner one, like maybe half the barrel diameter of this, you can probably create like the super defined small curls that can possibly make you look borderline afro. I'm actually intending to get something a little smaller so I can create some other designs other than just something like this, which usually gives me like super glamorous hair. I'm gonna start heating it up right now, so I'm gonna turn it on. And I'm setting it to 140. I usually use either 140 or 180. Sometimes 160. This one goes like in steps of 20 degrees. It really depends on how I feel my hair texture to be that day. If it feels really weak, I try to use less heat on my hair, and usually it really just means that you just have to hold it in place for longer. If you set your iron to 180, you probably can curl your hair much faster, but I feel like with a higher heat you probably will risk damaging your hair a lot faster, like traumatizing your hair with so much heat at once. Speaking of heat, before you start anything, make sure to protect your hair. Personally, I don't think that it's necessary to get those heat protectant sprays and stuff that is marketed to be a heat protectant spray that is marketed as a heat protectant spray. Like, its only job is to protect your hair from heat. Because as long as you have product in your hair, like a hair oil, your hair is technically already protected by something, because you just really need a coating of something over the follicles of your hair so that it doesn't, I don't know, I guess burn. So if you can find a hair oil that tells you that it protects heat as well, that's great. But even if it's not, it's usually still going to be okay. Just make sure that you put on something to protect your hair with. I usually go in with 2 different options. So a hair oil of choice. I have a lot of hair oil, but currently the one I have on hand is the L'Oreal LC one, the botanical, the extraordinary oil in the botanical version. So this is more like a traditional hair oil with a little bit of like fragrance. That's not even a point, but this is a nice hair oil to use, especially to like hydrate your hair before you start doing anything. And then my other one, this one is one of my favorites. This is from Kristen S. It is their Weightless Shine Working Serum for all hair types. Cuticle smoothing, freeze taming, moisture locking, and strand illuminating. And it's basically like a hair serum that says that it has this zip up technology that zips up your follicles. Like if it feels a little dead and dry and rough, it usually means that the follicles are like standing up. Imagine this is your hair strand, the surface of your hair strand, and your follicles are supposed to always be down, but then if it's too dry, sometimes it might lift up a little, and so as all the follicles on your hair lift up, it forms a really rough surface. So with that situation, this serum will kind of fill up the gaps in a sense, so that it helps protect the hair and also give the hair more of like a soft, flowy, slippy feeling, and it also makes the hair shine very nicely. So for today, I'm gonna use this crystallized one because currently my hair is feeling really dry and crunchy for some reason. I like to use like about 3 pumps because my hair is a little longer. Back when I first got this, my hair was around like this length, so I used like 1 pump on dry hair and 2 pumps on wet hair because I like to use this before I blow dry my hair as well. If you're wondering if you need to protect your hair from heat when you blow dry your hair, the answer is yes, because the blow dryer also applies heat to your hair, so it's always good to protect your hair from that damage as well. When you're doing this, just make sure to incorporate your hair strands. Like try to focus on combing through so that you get as many cuticles as possible. I don't know if you saw just now, but when I distributed it on my hair, and I also went in between my fingers, because when you comb through your hair, you make it easier for the product to get in between the strands instead of just applying it with your palm onto the outer surface of the hair. Does that make sense? Yeah, so basically you want to penetrate the hair with as much product as possible. But when I say as much as possible, I don't mean like soak your hair in oil. Like just use a tiny amount. You might have to try this once or twice. I'm gonna go in with 1 more layer onto my ends because they are really feeling very dried and fried for some reason. My hair does this once in a while. You just don't want to soak them to the point of them looking super oily unless that's the look you want to go for. Listen to your hair, see what it needs. If you don't know how much product to put in your hair from the get-go, then just do 1 pump at a time, maybe half a pump at a time, depending on how your hair type is like. Oh, and by the way, my hair, obviously I'm Asian, so Asian hair type. I have like a normal to thin sort of hair thickness, and it's not too brittle. Recently it's been slightly more brittle, and I don't really have a lot of hair. I have very regular hair basically. Like I don't think I have very little hair, but I don't have a lot of hair at the same time. Depending on your weight, you might have to alter as you go as well. Okay, so once you're done with that and your hair is ready, you can see from this serum my hair has dramatically become a lot smoother and shinier. I love this serum so much, and it smells so good. Okay, so time to think about your own head first. So if you look at your head, you're supposed to divide it into sections. So we have the bang area, which is basically the hair that frames your face. If you have bangs, you will know where it is because your hairstylist have already like demarcated that for you. So if you have like any sort of bangs, those that are shorter will be your bangs. So mine would be something like, if I look down, hopefully you can see, it starts from around here. And then if I have to draw a line, you have to draw all the way down, like on your scalp. Just draw and kind of pull. And whatever hair that ends in front of your ear, basically. So it starts from like this area of your ear, the tops. So it starts from where your ear starts. So that's one section, like your left and right bang side. And then if you think about the back of your head, you can split it into up and down. So if I split my hair into 2, I'm gonna turn around so you can understand. So hopefully you can see this. The lower part of my hair would start from like above my ear, and then if you draw a line over to the other side of the ear, that is where the lower part of your hair is. Okay, so all this that are flowing downwards. And then everything on top is sort of like your top part of your hair. If it's too thick like mine, you can always divide into 3. So instead of like a lower portion and a top portion, you can split it into the lowest portion, the middle portion, and then you can just kind of imaginarily divide 1 more line of hair, which is this crown portion of your head, as your topmost portion. And then you can divide it into left and right side. Depending on your hair, you might have to divide it like 3 or 4 more times. So those are your hair portions. You want your hair to be as tangle-free as possible and as smooth as possible before you go in with curling so that you can get the best results with your curls. Then usually when I start curling my hair, there's a couple of styles that you can do. I know 2 main techniques, and I'm gonna do one on each side so that you can see the difference. I will start with the more traditional way, which is the up-down portion one. So I'm going to split my hair into quarters basically. So after sectioning this off, if you have a hair clip, go ahead and clip your hair up. If you don't, you can always just grab a hair tie to tie it up and away from where you need to curl your hair. Okay, so you have like about this much hair. So make sure to pull out your bang section over here, which is in front of your ears. From this section over here, when you kind of brush it out and flatten it, this is like a little wide, so I like to just split it into 2 more manageable sections. You might even have to do like 3, 4, 5 different strands on the lower part alone on this quadrant, just because you might have more hair than I do. Usually what you want to do, the most standard way of curling your hair to make sure that it flatters your face is to curl it away from your face so that the hair doesn't kind of all come towards the front and will kind of close in onto your face and kind of block off your face in a sense. And when you have a clip version like this, sometimes it gets a little confusing because if you clip on your hair and you turn it the wrong way, you might accidentally create a kink. So this is the clip portion of the curler, and this is your hair that is caught in between the curler, the main barrel, and the clip. So instead of curling this way along with the clip, sometimes when you are not familiar yet, I've done it so much, you might accidentally curl it the other way. And then by doing that, you're curling your hair against or onto the clip. And then when your hair is like heated and against the clip, when you release the hair, there'll be a kink like this. Does that make sense? Okay, now that I'm done explaining the most possible mishap that you can face, it's now time to actually curl our hair, finally. So taking my wand, you have to think about it for a while, and then you start from here in the middle. You can let go while you start turning, and then while you turn, you might have to loosen the barrel a little bit to make way for the curls. And then you just kind of let it sit for a while, hang out here in the middle of the strand of hair, and then you just sort of press this repeatedly and curl at the same time. Can you see what I'm doing? To kind of like just begin curling more and more of the strand of hair from the bottom into the hair. When you go too much, and then what happened just now was that I kind of let go too much, so I reached the end of my hair and I didn't notice. So we're gonna start again because I kind of screwed up. Sorry for the rain. It's raining again, but it hasn't rained for a while, so it's kind of welcome. So you just kind of go in like straight up. Now keep in mind that the angle that you insert your curler in will alter the way the curl will end up. So I haven't really discovered the difference yet, which is my bad, but I like to do it like straight up because I find it easier and I don't mind the results too. I'm just gonna sit here for a while and let it, well, cook. But don't cook for too long. I think I usually just count to 10 maybe, and I'll just let it go. Yeah, maybe 10 seconds, count to 10. You just have to keep curling and stopping, releasing, curl and stop, releasing, curl and stop until you get the whole strand of hair into the barrel. That's the curling method on this side. When I'm done with that strand, I just kind of let it set here for a while without tugging at it or brushing it or anything. This is against my white shirt, so you can see this is like a full curl all the way to the end of the hair. So that's one curl. Let me demonstrate one more time. Remember to separate the bang area. And start from as close to the ear as possible without actually touching your ears. Turn outwards and just apply heat in sections at a time. just let go a little bit so that you can incorporate more hair in as you turn. Okay. And just hold there for a while when you have all the strands in your barrel, and then you want to let go. So that's like a standard curl that is like kind of like a perfectly— oh, I missed a strand over here. Okay, so those are the standard curls that kind of look a little DNA-y and they curl all the way to this end of the strand, so it's like a full curl in a sense. So that's one way to curl your hair. I'm gonna go ahead and do the tops of my hair as well, and I will be right back with you. So I'm currently curling the piece of bang that is as long as the rest of my hair that's in front of my ear, separately but in the same way, so that it sort of gives its own little like curl in a sense. And then you just kind of check through your hair to see if like you missed out any strands. I kind of missed out a lot of strands just now. And now it's time for the bang section. You'll want to do this in two sections. So the shorter ones that is on top of your forehead and the ones on the side here. So usually I like to start from the ones that are above my forehead, which is like this little section over here if you can see. You just bring it up like so. With your iron, you want to just slot it in and curl it away from your face as well, but upwards instead. And for the bangs, I usually just run it through and just let it go. Like I don't really like stress too much about how long I'm supposed to wait. And you might have to do one more round for the really baby hairs in front, and really make sure to not burn your forehead while you do this. And then you get like a curly sort of situation that frames your face over here. And yeah, if you don't like how this is a little too flat, you can always lift it up a little, like one piece of it. Just lift your entire barrel and just lean it against this for a while, so that you sort of hot iron it into place and you hold it there while it kind of cools in that shape before letting it drop. Angle is really important for this, so you gotta have to figure out how you're gonna do this without ending up looking really crazy. There's a lot of trial and error for this, especially when it comes to doing it on your own. So I'm just doing the same for the piece that it's like a little bit more inside, so nearer to the actual crown of my head. And then just kind of finger comb through everything. It's really up to you to decide if you want to keep it this way or finger comb it through. I like to finger comb mine through. If you want to give it more texture, take tiny pieces of it. I picked out very tiny strands like this, and instead of curling it outwards, I will curl it inwards instead. And then what this does is it will give a little bit of like an interest and texture that contrasts the bulk of the curls in a sense. Hold it in for a while, release one curl so that it kind of twists here, and you curl it onto itself. And you do the same until you run out of hair. This one will take a little bit of getting used to before you realize what you're doing, but basically you're trying to create as tiny a wave as possible. I can see this. Can you see this strand over here? And you don't really have to be super precise with this, because it's supposed to give your hair more of like that lived-in textured look. If you want it to be really like prim and proper and really like classically curled hair, then maybe skip this step as well. So you want to have like less finger combing and more proper waves like how we have left it before. For a guideline, I sort of just like to divide it, like pick up a piece from here and here and here and here. So I divide my side of this head into like 4 or 5 pieces in equal parts so that I can sort of sculpt the best possible shape for my hair. Okay, so this is one side done. And for this side, I will show you like more of my go-to way of curling. So like this is when I feel fancy and I have the time. This is when I want to just get it done, but I don't really want to think about it too much. This is the fast way. So I'm going to start from like outside all the way in, and I'm not going to section. I'm just going to do like, instead of sectioning my hair up and doing 2 layers, I'm going to do 1 layer and pick out strands that are like enough for my iron to like just curl it as fast as possible. So I start with my bangs. I will also do this the same way as I did the other side. Okay. And for these bangs, I like to, if I can, kind of lower them down as I go so that they will kind of be sculpted into that direction. And I might have to run through this a couple more times. Instead of doing what I did on the other side, which is starting in the middle, I will like start from the middle, glide it down, and then kind of roll it all the way up. And hold it here for like 10 seconds. You will kind of grasp the timing once you try it a couple of times with the temperature of your preference. So you just do this and release. And you get 1 curl. I don't know if you can tell, but this curl is very different from this because this is more of like a bottom heavy curl than like a full curl like this. But it's also a look, and to the untrained eye they look the same. So once more, let me show you. I slide it in from the same area, but when I'm starting to curl, I will kind of drag it down to the ends, and then looking into the mirror. When I reach the end, I will just curl it upwards to where I started again. So you sort of want to run past the hair strands once to sort of heat up the hair and iron it out, sort of straightening it, and then curl it back on itself. Then that way you can create your curls. I'm gonna fast forward this part and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so I've generally curled my hair on this side as well, and I think it's quite obvious like what the differences are. This side has more of like a voluminous curl over here, this portion of my hair, whereas for this side, this technique of curling leaves more of like a bottom heavy sort of curl that is almost Korean-y, I would say. This is more of like a Japanese sort of curl. This one currently looks a lot more like the Korean like S curl, C curl thing, where it's like more concentrated at the bottom. Okay, so I'm just gonna add some opposing contrasting strands. For this, the technique is the same as the other side. So I kind of just curl it, release it, curl it, release it, curl it, release it, and then the more you do it, the more you realize that you're just curling and twisting and curling and twisting and curling and twisting. Alright, so in terms of styling my hair, now that everything is done and it's curled, you want it to last. And if you're like me and you live in like Singapore, it's a little hard to get it to last, even for me, because it's humid all the time, it's hot, so the curls fall flat very fast. But the way you can try to like make sure that it lasts as long as you can is to use styling products into your hair to help set it in place in a sense. So the most obvious option is to use hairspray. This is by far the best hairspray that I have found at the drugstore that really works. This is a men's hairspray actually. It's from Gatsby and it's the Moving Lock Spray in Extra Hard. It's in this pink bottle over here. You don't have to kind of like spray it too closely to your curls. So what I find this good for, or like how I like to use it, is once I'm done styling my entire hair, I'll just like mist it all over your hair from like a distance, and then kind of just give your hair a little bit of like that shower. It might feel like nothing, but I promise you, you will see that your hair is still in place at least a couple of hours longer than what you're used to. This is really good for like shoots. I bring this on all my shoots, or like you want this to last through like a evening event or like a full day event. This is great. But if you're just like going out to a cafe or like to shopping, you can put in some pomades and gels and waxes to both help define this look a lot further and make it look a lot more professionally done, and also help it stay a little longer because of its holding properties. So there are a couple of options that I like to go with. Okay, I'll just start from like the lowest level, so like from the lowest hold to the highest hold in a sense. You can always go back into your hair serum to give more shine and more texture to your hair, and that way it will look a lot more shiny in a sense, and it will also help things stay fresh looking. This is also really lightweight, so in the humidity it's not going to like suddenly make your hair look super flat so soon. This is the next one. This is the N Dot Polish Oil. I have the smallest bottle over here. This oil over here is like one of the cult favorite beauty products or like hair products that the Japanese hairstylists love to use, at least for a while, and then I think they moved on to better things or like newer things. But anyways, this is the oil that is both like a pomade and a oil, so it's like a heavy, really nice smelling but really heavy oil that gives shape. Doesn't really do much for actually moisturizing the hair or anything like that, though it does because it's still an oil. It gives the hair a more piecey textured look, and this thingy is so potent that a little bit makes your hair look really oil, like greasy looking. It's supposed to give your hair that super wet look that's really trendy in Japan right now. But in Singapore, usually in this humid weather, when people see this kind of hair, they usually think that it's a greasy hair situation, like an unwashed hair, wet hair situation that doesn't look as cute where we live. So it's like a cultural thing, I guess. So it really depends on whether you can take this styling product and if you can get your hands on this. This is supposed to be like a body oil, so anything that's a lot heavier might give you that sort of look, that PC look. I will demo that on one side of my hair because I really like this product, and I will show you. These are sort of like gels, so this is from the brand Lufcar. They're so cute. So I think you can get this on like probably Amazon or like Shopee or something. You probably can find this. I bought this in Japan from Loft. They have like different creams or different types of hairstyles that you want. This one that I've had for a really long time is the Fuwa Kami cream. I'm almost out of this. Fuwa Kami cream is like something that helps your hair look a lot more airy and soft and light. So it's more of like a semi-matte finish that just holds the hair in place, holds the curls, but it doesn't impart too much shine, and it makes it look a lot more airy and lightweight, if that makes sense. So this is that cream. And this one is the Nude Kami Gem, which basically means wet hair look gem. So if you can see, like, this girl has like that super cute and shiny hairstyle that, well, it's really Japanese. So this is like a hair gel that gives your hair that really wet look. It sort of works the same way, except this is an oil and this is a gel. So this is like a gem gel sort of texture, and yeah, it's not super sticky or anything, but it sort of helps. Let me just put a little bit onto the ends over here so you might be able to tell. It instantly gives the hair a lot more of like that PC look. Can you tell? This sort of products usually work for only like curly textured hair. If you have straight hair, usually it just makes you look really greasy, so please stay away from that. And last but not least, we have True Blue like hair waxes and hair pomades. This is from the brand Lucy Doll. You can get this in Watsons and Guardian, I guess. And it's just like a... Ooh! I haven't used much of it, but it's just like a pomade. I think they call it a wax, I think. This is the pink one. They have quite a lot of different colors for like, again, different sort of finish that you want. This is the volume airy one. It's like a wax that really has that holding power to both do this as well as hold the hair as well, but this is less of a shiny finish and more of like that waxy texture. So if you can see, it's really like, it's like a cream. So if I'm just gonna get a little bit of that, and you can tell that when I apply it onto my hair, it doesn't give so much of like a shine, but now there is like a malleability. It gives you that chance to really just play with it and sculpt it. That's why it's a wax, because like once you incorporate your hair with it, you can actually bend it to your will, literally. I'm just gonna show you on the hairs on top of my crown, okay? So I'm just going to like incorporate this onto my hair. You can always like just kind of incorporate it into your scalp. And when you do that, you give the roots a lot of that ability to bend to your will, basically. So you can use this product to style your hair the way you want it. You sort of just use your fingers to arrange your hair till you're happy with it. So say you have quite flat roots, especially on the top, and curling didn't really do much for that. You can always just, like me, apply some of that onto the scalp and onto the hair strand and just start moving it around, and try to do a lot of this sort of motion to kind of rub it together to create that kind of texture. And you want to just try to hold it in place and sort of massage it so that it sort of raises up a little bit. So now you can tell, it's quite obvious that this side looks a lot more volumized than this side, and unless someone touches your hair, you can't really tell that something's on your hair. And the more you do this, the more you will understand how to do it. If you're someone who needs that extra help, this might be the way to help yourself. I'm just gonna take a little bit more of that pomade, and I'm going to just wiggle it into this entire crown area. Don't worry about the way it's a little messy, because I think the messier it is, like not too messy, but I think the more textured it is, the better it looks, the more effortless it looks, because it looks like you woke up like this. So try to like roll your hair together to form like pieces. So do this on your hair to form the pieces. First, I'll take another bit of this. It's like this kind of products, a little goes a long way. And I'll just like finger comb it through, and I'll have to juice my hair a little so that I don't lose the curls while I comb with this wet product. And also try to do that. This motion is so important. This is something that I picked up from watching, or rather learning from my ex-colleagues, my hairstylist ex-colleagues from the salon that I worked in last year. Make sure that everything is piecey, textured and glossy. Styled hair, not styled hair. And you can juice with it as much as you want, and then maybe stop touching it once it's dried. Okay, for this side, say volume isn't really your main concern. Say shine and a bit of texture is more of your concern because maybe you have a lot of hair. Then maybe the end dot oil, like any other type of oil, would be good. So for this end dot oil over here, I'll just like do like, because I have very fine hair, I'll do like 2 drops. Maybe even 3. Just a little bit will alter the look of the hair. And this is more of like a oil product, so it will definitely weigh down your hair a lot more. So keep that in mind if you want to explore using something like a heavy oil to style your hair. Let me have just 1 more drop. It's not enough. Okay, 2 more, 3 more. Alright. Oh my god, it smells so good. It smells like citrus and oranges, and maybe because this side is so like textured, it's a little hard to tell, but it's no longer like my normal hair texture. It's like, it's a lot more piecey, but it still retains sort of that soft, flowy, elegant feel to the hair. The curling, with the curling one part of the whole styling journey, is so minimal compared to all the rest of the prep and the styling products that you have to do to make sure that everything looks good in the end. So this is how I curl my hair. Luckily it doesn't look that obvious that it's a different curl. It just looks like I curled my hair badly. With that said, we are at the end of today's video. I hope you learned something useful today. I have a feeling it's gonna be a long one. Hopefully I can cut this down into a sizable amount that is still useful. So if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, which is @CharmaineCCW, where I post a lot of makeup looks as well. So what did I have to talk about? Anyways, like I've been sitting here curling my hair for like a good, I would say an hour. My legs are asleep and I really need to pee. But anyways, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end once again, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!